One of my favorite people in the world, Einstein, said, "The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing." I know for a fact that Vicente has always honored this quote. He has always asked questions about everything around him, from simple topics to scientific realities. He observes, thinks, reaches different conclusions. Remember Newton? Millions of apples had fallen from trees, but it took one keen observer to ask why. How? This is Vicente. He has won the recognition of his peers because he is passionate about information. And that is why he's so knowledgeable about the world that surrounds him. You can talk about movies, books, traveling, and cars, especially cars. And he will find a way to make the moment a very enjoyable one because he loves to share information. I always knew Vicente as a serious, responsible, rather quiet student. But then one day he enrolled in my psychology class. There was always humming, singing, tapping of different rhythms in that classroom. And to my surprise, it was Vicente who was the one orchestrating the musical movement and enjoying it. Whatever field he chooses to research, I'm certain that it will be very successfully done and musically exposed to the world. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Vicente Esteve Alatorre.
You might be wondering why I just played Piano Man in my harmonica in front of all of you before giving my speech. The truth is, after deep thinking, hypothesizing, meditating with both my outer self and my inner self, I came to the realization that I had no clue how to begin my senior speech. So I did something no one has ever done in the history of senior speeches. I played Piano Man in a harmonica. This, though, wasn't some random idea I thought of. The fact that I was able to control the expulsion of air, remember the notes, and keep my hands still enough to play the song demonstrates that in front of an audience, I am surprisingly untroubled. I can truly be myself in front of all of you, and I can send my message with the humor that I intend. And humor there will be, since making a speech of a tragedy is the biggest cop-out I can think of, and just doesn't go with my way of being. Ladies and gentlemen, hide your Kleenex and listen carefully. This is Vicente's philosophy of life. Point number 1, everything happens for a reason. I will be coming back and forth with this very point, and at the end of my speech, you will all know why I chose this eye-roll-worthy phrase. Point number 2, you can tell a lot about someone by asking what they had for breakfast that day. Think about it for a second and let the importance of breakfast sink into your brain. Your performance will most likely depend if you ate breakfast like a monarch or like a servant. A person that eats good breakfast tells you that he or she doesn't mind waking up earlier to make a toast. A person that eats breakfast shows that they have responsibility with their time, because hundreds of things can go wrong when you cook breakfast. You spill the mango juice in the fridge, you run out of milk when you have poured the Lucky Charms, you try 2, 3, or 4, or 5 times like me to make an unscrambled egg without the yolk breaking, or flames just come out of your bagel because you didn't realize the oven was at 500 degrees, which also happened to me. Even though 1,000 things can go wrong, the person who is responsible with their time will overcome these first world obstacles, be able to eat something half decent, and still get to where they have to be on time. Also, a person who eats breakfast is always more alert, less like a walrus and more like an ostrich. Now, for those of you confused why I chose an ostrich to make the comparison, you really underestimate the speed and agility of ostriches. An ostrich, the biggest bird on earth, runs faster than your grandmothers have ever driven. Ostriches are twice as fast as the fastest humans on earth. Ostriches, in fact, are so fast that they could overtake any car going at the posted speed limit in the United States up until 1987. You could literally be traveling with your lower middle class family to visit your lower middle class relatives on the highway, and you could have easily been overtaken by a running ostrich without even breaking a sweat. Coming back to breakfast, it is in my eyes an incredibly important aspect of a person. People who don't take their time to have breakfast will most likely be late, prefer to sleep, or be plainly indifferent about their health. If in the future I hopefully have the power to employ people, this will surely be an aspect I'll consider. Point number 3, the best person you can be with is yourself. According to some psychologists with a PhD in a nice office in Atlanta, Georgia, learning how to be with yourself is crucial in mental development. I, for one, love being with myself, even if I can be a little bit of a moron sometimes. In those hours I spend just with my thoughts, I learn a lot of things. I find solutions. I fix issues that no one even bothered to create. I come up with ideas that will both succeed and fail. Every decision I make will have crossed my mind more times than anyone or I could care to count. I feel like I become a better person when I am submerged in my critical thinking and a downright more intellectual human. Point number 4, stop with the pollution nonsense. Now, don't get me wrong, I do care for the planet and won't pollute for fun, but I think the limit has been reached. I understand that being eco-friendly is the new thing, but we live in a time when they are making pen ink that is eco-friendly, clothes hangers that are eco-friendly. Hell, they are even making eco-friendly bicycles. A bicycle is already the eco-friendliest mode of transportation in existence, the eco-friendliest man-made thing in existence. Walking damages the environment even more than using a bicycle, and even then, marketing smartasses promote an eco-friendlier version of it, which is of course priced higher. And then the flock of soy-drinking, indigenous-made, clothes-wearing, ponytailed, modern-day hippies happily pay the premium for this bicycle that is somehow kinder to the environment. It's ridiculous. Then there are the countless criticisms to the automobile for causing excessive amounts of pollution, which I am sick of listening, being an automotive enthusiast. I will let you into a little secret, ladies and gentlemen, and I am not joking about this. It is 100% true. A couple of years ago, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency made a study to rank which sources caused the most particles that polluted the atmosphere. In first place, at 34% of damage, is dust from unpaved roads or construction sites. Industry comes in second at 25% with all the power plants. You have to get to the bottom of the table to find that on-road vehicles account for an insignificant 3%. And just above it is livestock at 4%. It's cows. In a day, a cow exudes between 66 and 132 gallons of methane into the air. A single cow farting does more damage to the environment than a Range Rover, the single most wasteful vehicle on the planet. And after thinking about it, by the time pollution really becomes a life-threatening affair, I will most probably be dead. I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. So next time you want to show your support for the environment, go shout at the farmers and not at the drivers. Point number 5, Section A, not because you have big feet means you will be stable. Section B, not because you have big hands means you won't be clumsy. If anyone wants to know how big my hands are, just grab an average-sized book and add a couple of inches in length. Don't even get me started on my feet because I haven't got a kayak at the moment to compare them to. But you get the message. I have long hands and dangerously large feet. But if I could count the times I have hit myself with any of them, tripped, or accidentally dropped objects, I would get bored halfway through the massive number that would result. Point number 6. Dogs have reached the point in which they are better treated than humans. In this section, I will start with an anecdote to portray my point. The scenery is set at the famous Lincoln Road in the grotesquely ostentatious city of Miami, Florida. After hours of walking around the concrete jungle and the palm trees, my family decided that eating would be a good idea within the next hour or two. After 4 minutes, we gave in the towel and fell in the chairs of the nearest place that served any type of food. It was a quaint outdoor bakery called Paul. Now, I'm not sure if someone named Paul was involved in the creation of the restaurant, but at the moment we couldn't care less of the history of the place and begged for a waiter to get us anything we could eat. As if our prayers were heard, a tired-looking middle-aged woman in a black and white uniform came with a jar of their best potable water. The smile in my father's face is a smile I hope I get to see when I graduate. We drank the whole jar in less than 2 minutes. Then, at the right side, I saw a healthy-looking couple with their equally healthy-looking dog walking by, showing off their healthiness. And that is what Lincoln Road is. It's the longest public runway in existence, where you can show off the whiteness of your teeth, the redness of your hair, or the orangeness of your tan. Going back to the couple, I stared at their majestic dog walking by, a purebred Irish wolfhound with more pedigree than the royal baby, an elegance and posture that presidents could only dream about, hair that was better conditioned than Queen Elizabeth's, and legs and paws with more muscles than I have in my entire body. Seriously, that dog would beat me arm wrestling any day of the week without even trying. I was simply awestruck by such a magnificent animal, and even more as it was coming to a table near ours. As the enviously healthy couple sat and chatted of how healthy they were, a waiter with much more vigor than ours came rushing in to their table with an odd-looking bowl that was also filled with water. The waiter then completely ignored the existence of the healthy-looking couple and bended on his knees to give the dog the bowl of water. After he was absolutely sure the dog was properly hydrated, he then turned to see the couple. You know, the ones who would actually pay the bill. And you know what's the worst thing about this event? The healthy-looking couple didn't even care. To their eyes, it was perfectly normal. Another example of this dog worshipping is illustrated in social media, where any picture I upload will get, on a good day, 7 likes, whilst Marnie, the 12-year-old New York City Shih Tzu, is on its 1.7 millionth Instagram follower. I want to be clear, though, I adore animals and love my Chihuahua endlessly, but I am unsure how bad this veneration to dogs could end up getting. Point number 7. People who gossip have metric crap tons to talk about, but nothing to really say. Living in Mexico, I became used to people gossiping around me. I don't doubt for a second that Mexico is one, if not the gossipiest country in existence. People here want to know about everyone's business. Just an example, when I ride my bike in my neighborhood, every single person I ride by stares at me until I disappear from their sight. As if they had never seen a white boy using a bicycle, or as if I was kidnapping a puppy or carrying an African disease. They have to see what I'm going to do. Then there are the TV shows, such as Laura in America, that are based solely on the concept of gossiping about someone's laughably miserable life. But after a while, I realized that gossipy people don't really say much. You could mute about 80% of what they said any random day, and it wouldn't make a difference. Gossiping sometimes goes so low that people who do it don't even bother with making their own opinion on the topic, and just repeat whatever happened like a news reporter. People, please hear me out when I say this. Live your life. Point number 8. Patience really is a virtue. When your phone can download a picture of a cake by sending signals from Earth to a satellite in space and back in less than 2 seconds, you become used to this kind of immediacy in life. People have forgotten to be patient, but thankfully I haven't. Waiting in lines for a red light to change or my grandmother to finish a sentence are all scenarios in which I can keep calm. And here is why I think that things happen for a reason. Because if I hadn't been given with this attribute of bizarre patience, I would not be able to handle life with my autistic brother. Every single day, I have to either clean up his movies or listen to him singing and reciting dialogues from fictional characters. And before you think it's cute, his movie collection reaches approximately 460 DVDs. And yesterday was a full-length episode of Thomas the Tank Engine named Thomas, Percy, and the Old Slow Coach at 11 at night. He doesn't go on planes either, so any long-distance trip is a road trip. He only eats white rice and spaghetti, which limits the places the whole family can go for a Sunday meal. He shouts when you tell him to be quiet. He has broken Legos that have taken me days to build. He claims the TV in the living room regardless of the show that is airing. He is and will always be the most pampered son in the family. But you know what he also is? He's the most phenomenal human being I have ever met. What you have to remember with someone with autism is his mind isn't corrupted with all the crap the world secretes. His innocent self is ignorant to all of the evil that surrounds him, which results in the purest of human beings. You see through his white eyes, and you know that he will never damage anyone. Every day, it makes me more and more excited to see how he progresses and moves forward to become a member of society. Indeed, he has helped me reinforce my patient skills, but that is only one reason why I feel so lucky to have him as a brother. Even in a world where you can cook a turkey in a minute and a half, or where pizza arrives faster to your doorstep than policemen, you have to learn to be tolerant when things don't go at your desired speed. Point number 9, every Mexican's clock is delayed 40 minutes. Point number 10, you stop being selfish when you get closer to people. Now, I'm going to be blunt about this. I was a horrible kid with the crappiest attitude. I'll just grab an example on the top of my head. In the video of my 6-year-old party, there was I, anxious at the door, just waiting for the relatives to arrive. As they would cross the door into the room, I would run to hug not them, but the gift that they held in their hands. In the video, I grabbed the present and ran to the corner where all my other presents were hidden. And that was only if the gift was a nice big box, because if you even dared coming to one of my parties with clothes as a gift, I would give you the most infuriated stare and instantly added you in my I hate you list. There is a word to describe the kid that I was. It starts with A, ends in E, and it isn't adorable. But as I grew up, the people around me changed me more than I could ever imagine. I had to share toys with my brother, which is to say I share toys with a food blender. After a couple of years and tears, I learned to share the fun I extracted out of them regardless of the state they would end up in. True connection with people makes you realize that a thing is just that, a thing. Point number 11, 80% of what you learn is out there in the real world. Now, this is something I consider not only as my philosophy, but as a fact. You have to get out of your house to experience what is really going on. In my case, most of my outside learning has been through my passion, cars. Cars have been in my blood since I was a fetus. It is indeed my passion. It is what has moved me to this very point and will keep me moving towards my future. During my 4 years of high school, I had 4 different cars that show me something different without including the mechanical aspect, of which I also acquired some skill. The first car taught me responsibility in a whole new level that no other school assignment could ever do, and taught me to treat what's not mine with the respect that it deserves. My next vehicle was a pickup truck that taught me to know my limits. I blew up 3 tires in the time I owned this truck, making my household nickname be El Ponchallantas Esteve for a long while. The next car is one I remember dear to my heart, so much in fact that it has a name, and it is Oliver, a dinky Volkswagen that could take its roof off. From Oliver, I learned not to jump on a decision and carefully study it because you will otherwise regret it. In my 8 months of ownership, Oliver needed 3 ignition coils, an oil change, a battery, an alternator, a suspension arm, a hydraulic steering pump, hydraulic fluid, cable, starter motor, new alarm and lock system, window regulator, speaker, airbag sensor, rework of the entire electrical system, 5 tow truck trips, and a fire extinguisher. You heard that right. This car lit itself on fire one rainy afternoon while I was running errands with my mother. After me and my father put the fire off, disconnected the battery, and gave my mother herbal tea to cure her nervous breakdown, we arrived at the realization that this car was a bit too much. I have to say, though, despite all the trouble, the moments when Oliver worked, they gave me the time of my life. And a lesson. What I learned from all of this was that I should not make a decision of something so important in the 5 minutes I did when I said to my father, I want this car. And finally, the current car I drive showed me that things do happen for a reason, that all of the bad times and money spent from Oliver would later turn into a much better situation. That, though, is just a brief selection of things I learned that weren't from books. Hundreds of more experiences are out there, and it is up to you to find them. Point number 12, stereotypes are fantastic. And now I know a lot of you will be in outrageous disagreement, but bear with me. Stereotypes in most cases are true, and they exist because enough people acted that way for it to become a stereotype. An example that I remember is how Mexicans get not only angry but insulted when they are described as a nation of people who party, make good tacos, and not much else. Then, as our foreign Brit-Lit teacher asked us at the beginning of the school year, what makes you a Mexican? Everything the classroom could come up with was, we like parties, we make good tacos. But the absolute biggest reason why I love stereotypes is because all of them have exceptions. And those exceptions are the ones that are truly worthy to find. A Mexican that's punctual, a humble millionaire, a non-corrupt politician, a good breakfast at an American chain hotel. All of these exceptions of stereotypes exist. They are out there in the world, and finding them gives the biggest satisfaction. And now we come back to point number 1. Everything happens for a reason. The way my life has turned out, the people I have met, The experiences that have passed my eyes and the way everything just fits is why I think this very phrase is true. Ladies and gentlemen, things do happen for a reason. It just might not be here for you to see yet. I sincerely hope that at least something from my philosophy clicked or stick with you, and you will remember it for some reason or another. This was Vicente's philosophy of life. Thank you.